We're live.
Oh, perfect. Okay. We're going to get started. Hello, welcome to our podcast. We are called Cut the Design Crap. We're basically going to be talking about real world issues, challenges, experiences in the design, user experience, user interface design space, product design. I'm Alana Harris. I am, I should have said one, was director of product design. Have been working a number of years in user experience. I was a product designer. It's kind of morphed into product design now, but user experience across mobile, web, digital spaces. Worked for small companies, large companies. I'm very passionate about user experience. I'm passionate about the user and understanding what their needs are. And I'm excited to talk about what this topic today, which is user-centered is just a buzzword. And I'm going to let Karen introduce herself.
Hello, everyone. I'm Karen. I'm Alana's best friend, and I'm her co-worker. And we are working together for a long time. Currently, I'm a senior manager, UX UI. I'm loving this profession. I'm having 14 years of experience in that profession. I used to be an art director and then a UX expert and principal. I'm enjoying basically solving complex problems. This is my passion. So yes, let's keep this rolling.
Cool. So today we're going to talk about user-centered design and the fact that sometimes it's just a buzzword. And what do we mean by that? So let's start off with what we mean by user-centered. It seems very obvious, like user-centered design is supposed to reflect the creating products or design based upon what the user needs. So really focusing on who they are, what their problems they have, creating solutions that solve those specific problems, and balancing those against what the business needs are as well. So I think that's really the big challenge right now is like what we say is user-centered. We're saying that some companies and in our experiences have said they're user-centered and they're really not. And there are a lot of reasons for why they are or why they aren't. And we're big advocates for that. And so that's really what we want to start off and talk about.
Maybe they really believe that they are.
Yeah. Yes,
they really believe that.
Yeah.
And maybe that's what they're selling. That's what they're selling to the board.
Yes.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Or maybe that's what they're selling to the workers that works there, because we all want to be user-centric design. We all want to be solving real problems of real customers' problems. Yeah. Or maybe there are some companies that are doing that great. Let's talk about that, because there are products there that are doing a great job.
Yes.
And they are really, really, as per se, a user-centric design, right?
Yeah.
So, for example, Alana, do you have an example?
I would say for me, I think Pinterest is the top of my mind. I mean, I'm a big advocate of Apple. I've loved my Apple devices and everything. And I think what I like about Pinterest is there's no training required. Like I opened it up and I just started pinning things and I started creating boards and I started organizing my thoughts and everything. And it just organically grew for me. And I think I have like 2,000 followers on Pinterest, which just strange to me because I'm pinning stuff for myself or things that I like, you know, and the idea that somebody's looking at that is kind of interesting because it's, for me, how I organize my mind. Like I see things and I'm like, usually what I'm using Pinterest for is looking up ideas. It could be, what do I want to wear? Which sounds crazy, but or sometimes it's just I'm doing some research on something I was designing something for, and so I just started creating these boards and started organizing things. But what I think about is the simplicity of it. I didn't require any training to get started. I just opened it up. I got started. I started creating boards. I started interacting. I started doing things. That to me is so simple and easy to use. And I like something I think that is a good user-centered design is just focus on what I'm doing. You know, like these are the tasks that I've got, and I don't require any insight. I don't got to read. I don't think I've ever looked up anything related to Pinterest. I just do it. I can do it in 2 seconds. I spend a lot of time doing it because it's so easy and so quick. So
it's amazing that you said like it's organized my mind. This
yeah.
is actually what they're doing. It's organizing your thoughts, your ideas, your mind, your you know, ambitious thoughts and dreams, right? This is actually organizing your dreams.
Yeah.
Do you think Pinterest is actually saying that to their employees, to their design org?
Oh no,
Yes,
that's
need to be a design centric org. Do you think that?
I don't know. You know what? It actually opens up an idea of like how things grow from the users, which I think are so interesting. Like it's almost to me like Apple building the App Store and knowing that there's developers out there that are going to design apps that are going to populate it, and that's going to grow from the community of people. And I think that is probably one of the main things that is so great about Pinterest is just that it's we're the users and we're demanding certain things from it. And I think they're paying attention to how we're organizing ourselves and adapting to that. Because you'll notice, like in Pinterest, you used to have to like click the image and then go and say save it. But now I can just, on like my phone, I can press it and hold it and save it to a board. So it's like they've adapted to easier way to do things, like watching what we're doing and then adapting to that, which I think is a very intuitive, easy to use tool. Like that's amazing they would do that.
Adaptive, it's a nice word because this is how things are, you know, things, I mean, when I say things, I mean everything. Even people now survive like that because they know how to adapt. This is evolution, right? Evolution, this is how we survive as humans. So when you say adapt, you mean, okay, for the app to survive, it needs to adapt all the time to the user needs, right?
Yes, it's a perfect thing to do. Yes.
Yeah. So that's the evolution of Pinterest. I guess if something is stuck on whatever feature they had, if they would have stuck on that and wouldn't, you know, let it move on to develop those features, they wouldn't be in that place. So that takes me to pivot on my idea of a perfect centric design app. It's conference. And why is that connected? Because recently they launched the like Fig Jam feature, right? They thought to themselves, oh wait, we have Figma and they have Fig Jam. We are kind of like an app that it's online. Maybe we want to compete with that. Maybe we want to do something that will align to that needs, right? So they launched that. I don't know if it's really, you know, something that was a success. I don't know. It's something that it's worth, you know, thinking about or investigating. But it's something that they did. Really, not really like an Atlassian regular thing that they would do, but they adapt something that they know the users wants, right? I guess.
You know what? You bring actually a really good point, because it's obvious that they're paying attention to the users. Like Pinterest to me was paying attention and evolved based upon what we were doing. And I like that Confluence added those features, like they're paying attention to the users and what they wanted to have in the application or what they're using in other applications. And they said, let's add these features. And what is significant about it is sometimes these things don't work, right? Like it's okay if you failed at something and maybe there's a very small usage of that feature that you're talking about, the Fig Jam. But the point is they've actually listened to what users are doing and they're trying things. And I think that's so significant in user-centered design. It means that you're paying attention to what your users are doing and you're trying those things out. You don't have to be perfect about it, but the idea that you are listening and adapting to it is what's so significant. It's very user-centered focused. So I think it's amazing about Confluence.
And when you think about Atlassian, you think about Jira, which is a heavy thing and like maybe even conservative, right? For big enterprises, you never thought they would give a chance to that kind of a feature.
Yes, something creative. Yes.
Something creative, something out of their
Yeah.
looks like even out of the roadmap.
Yes. 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 Yes.
Look like somebody said, hey,
Yeah.
when we see a lot of people joining Figma and doing those kind of stuff, maybe we can take
Yes.
that track.
Yes.
Interesting. Very, very courageous of them,
Yes.
even.
I agree. I agree. That's very user focused.
Yes, and if we will talk about Confluence in a broader way, we can say, wow, this app, or not an app, it's not just a small app, it's like a huge station of very, very strong way of populating my thoughts into the world of my organization world, which is so powerful.
Isn't that interesting that you and I both picked things that help us organize our thoughts?
Yeah.
Like, that's so funny. I picked Pinterest and then you picked Confluence, and it's like we like those tools that help us organize our thought. They're so vastly different for different purposes, but they kind of have the same goal in mind if you think about it. So that's kind of interesting to think about.
Interesting. And the way, I mean, there's so many applications that are trying to solve that issue, where we have a list of grocery shop in our minds. We have a list of to-do stuff. So many applications. I mean, maybe it's a broader problem, like people having problems to save all the information in our minds. Maybe we come to that point that we need some devices, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That helps us doing that. So I love the fact that I have somewhere to write my thoughts, even if it's not the best way, but I can do it in a draft system, right? Really, by the way, I love the draft system in Confluence. I love that.
Yes.
It's really, really good.
Yes.
And it's complex thing to solve, but they solve it so nicely.
Yeah.
And that complex Atlassian heavy stuff, they really brought the Confluence into a place where it's light and nice and really, really user-centric, like we said, because it solves this problem.
Yeah. What do you think? What are some examples of not user-centered design?
Oh, wait a second. That's a nice one, because I don't know about a certain app, but I can talk to you about certain use cases or some examples from my past. Like, for example, I remember somebody said to me, well, I had this feature and I wanted to, there's a certain flow saying, okay, when you do that, then a button appears, okay? Because it appears only when you do a certain stuff. Okay, great. But somebody told me, maybe it's not that prominent. Maybe the user won't get it. Maybe the user won't notice it. And I was saying, well, it wasn't there. And when I did something, it appeared. So I was saying, it's like Gmail, right? Gmail, when you are clicking on an email, then you get all those actions, right?
Yes.
Not email, you're not getting those actions. That was the same thing.
Yeah.
So he was saying to me, no, let's do a glow on that button. Let's appear it, make it appear, and like making a nice animation of glowing.
Yes.
And this is you cannot see my face, but I was rolling my eyes a bit, and I was like, why?
Because it's a strategy. Because you know why? When you say it out loud to me, it goes to me, that is not a strategy. And it's not a design strategy. And a design strategy is so significant. I mean, it means you will learn how things operate in here. I know how things work, right? In an application, and the best strategies are just intuitive strategies, right? Like, it could be like, the button is red, right? And that means, hey, maybe you don't want to click that. Or maybe the button position is to the right. And you say, that's the feature that we want, the button that we really want you to click instead of the one to the left. Like, that's a strategy for it. But a pulsing strategy or a flowing strategy means so many different things. I mean, it's like, it's going to appear and it's going to glow at the same time. Like, what is that supposed to do for me? Like, I cringe a lot about it, because I feel like it's like Do you want me to click it? Do you not want me to click it? If you want me to click it, then why didn't you put it there permanently rather than let it appear and then make it glow? Like it's not a strategy. I'm confused by what you're trying to communicate to me by making it glow. Like it seems so obvious. Like think about something else that glows. Like when you get into an elevator, you push a button and it lights up, right? Okay, that's an acknowledgement of something that I've done, right? It's like getting feedback that you've done something. In this particular case, that's not what we're talking about here. You're trying to encourage somebody to say, hey, we're just giving you a button here. And it appeared and it glows. Like, will every other button in the application, when they appear, will they also glow? And how long will it glow, right? Like, how long will it glow? Will it glow the entire experience? Like, if I use this application for the next 10 years, is that button always going to glow, or is it going to change? Those are the questions. That's what I feel like. Is it a strategy or is it not a strategy? Like, it really needs to be thought through. What are you trying to get the user to do, right? In that point.
Yeah, I think at that point that person was having a fear of something won't work.
Yes.
Why fear? Why can't we test it, for example?
Yes.
Okay, if you have a fear, let's test it. Let's ask actually users, right?
Important part of, I think, user-centered design is like listening to the users. Like, it's so obvious, it sounds stupid, right? It's so obvious. Just find out. And you don't have to go to like a large group of users. You can just go to a small, you can use people internally to test it out. They say, tell me what
the life even.
Yes, absolutely. Any feedback is really valuable feedback, I think. Yes. I think that's so significant to do it. That's a good point and not.
Yeah. And when you think of animation, adding animation, it's something really heavy too. I mean heavy, like it's another layer of making something really, really, really prominent. Think about
it's your attention.
About evolution, right? So the animation is something that catches your eye, like a line that comes into your face, and you need to act upon it.
Yes.
That's not the same thing as a line. It's only a button.
Yeah, it's a button. I would argue you really need to figure out why you need that to not be there. Like, I think the glowing is like a non-factor. Like, I wouldn't consider that. I would ask, I mean, this is a good place to ask the product owner, who's typically the person in our world that gives us the requirements for these types of things. What are you trying to get the person to do here? Like, what is their, like, go to them, find out what's their logical step, the next step from whatever they've done in this feature, and then try to figure out what are you trying to get them to do here, right? Like, what is really the goal here for it? Is there a reason why? I mean, can you tell me, Karen, like, why was the button not there to begin with? Is there not space, or like, what's the reason why we don't?
The reason is that there wasn't any need for that.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Really simple. There wasn't any need. So it only appears when you need it. That's it.
Okay.
As simple as that.
And there's good reasons for doing those kinds of things. Like you said, I think you gave the example in like Google Mail or something. When you do something, you click something and buttons come up, and then you understand that behavior. I don't need the screen to be cluttered by all these actions until I actually need them and they're meaningful. Then you're looking for them and you're like, they're there, they appear. So sometimes that's a good thing and sometimes it's not. But the attention onto this button, I mean, you've got to find the right position for it. You got to find the right color. You've got to have a design that communicates, like, what do the buttons look like in the rest of the application? Why is this one different than the other one? You really have to have a strategy for that.
Right. I want to talk about another example, if I may.
Yes, of course.
Number of clicks. Who said that number of clicks needs to be as the number is as lower as?
We should have a whole episode about this, because I'm very sensitive about people like this minimize. I mean, we have product managers who get rated on minimizing the number of clicks. Like, they will get rated on it. Like, this is alarming to me that they get rated on it, because you can think about like experiences you have where the number of clicks, it's not a factor. It's just not important. I will tell you, like, the biggest thing that comes to my mind is when I use like an ATM machine. Okay.
Yeah.
And you know how many clicks you have to get some cash out of the ATM machine, right? But could you imagine if they put all of that content onto one single screen so you didn't have a bunch of clicks on it? You would be confused and like uncomfortable. What if you missed something on the screen?
A mistake.
What if you made a mistake on that one screen? But it guides you through the process where you feel secure that you're actually going to get your money out of the machine. Like if they find it to a single experience, that may not work. And I would argue in that instance that the number of clicks is no relevance at all. It really does not matter. If I had to go through 10 screens just to get my cash, it would probably make me feel more secure than if I did one screen and I was thinking, wait a minute, did I just put 20 or 120? Like, I don't, you know what I mean? Like you just need a moment. I mean, because it does say to you, okay, you said this, you know what I mean? Do you want to get that out of checking or you want to get that out of savings? You get
it just became a code, like a code word saying we need to have this. No, what's the reason behind it? Is there a reason? Is there a business reason? Is there some analytics regarding to that?
Yes.
What the reason? Say the reason, and then we will make sure it will do it. We'll do it, of course.
Yes, that's so perfect. Actually, it makes me feel like we should shift to how product owners think that they're the experts and we're not the experts, and the kind of the like what you and I deal with when we're trying to combat these types of topics where people are like, I don't know, minimize the number of clicks. That's the whole, like everybody says that's the way it is. And I think we've moved, like I remember years ago, they used to say that when I used to use web design, like it shouldn't be that many clicks. But now I don't think it's as relevant as it, but it feels like what I will say about the product owners is we typically get them to say these kinds of things to us. I mean, we're in a situation where they're like, reduce the number of clicks on this. This is too many clicks for this particular process. And I think, Karen, and tell me if you agree with me or if you have an example, we need to go back to the user and get user information. Like that's the way to combat this is too many clicks. Like that is probably not even a factor to people. Yes. And if we go and do some level of testing, again, it could be very small. We'll talk to your wife or whatever. Is this the right thing? Like, is this clear to you? Is this what you expect? Is that complicated? Like if you break it down into all of the pieces and think about what their level of comfort going through this process too, because I feel like that's significant. Like I brought up the ATM, the security that I feel, like the privacy that I feel, okay? Because some of that I think is significant in going to an ATM machine. They move things onto different screens. If somebody was around you, they're not seeing all your data on one screen too, right? So there's a level of security that I feel from having it on multiple screens, just an awareness of that. But I wonder if what we're saying is what we need to do for these product owners, because they think they're the experts in a lot of ways, is to go to the users and just give that data and that feedback back to them and say, hey, we've talked to these people. This is what they said. This one click, reduce number of clicks is not an issue for them.
Right. The answer is on the title, user-centric design. We need to go to the user. And by the way, like I once worked in a company that yes, they actually took the number of clicks really, really seriously, and they had a business need that says, well, because I was working in a company that created a cashier interface. Okay, so they said, and I can live with that. They said every other click that we are adding to the cashier person that are working on that station, that will cost us a lot of money because she needs to move fast. Okay, that I can live with that. That's a business case that we have to live with. Okay. That's okay. Maybe it's not the most user-centric design ever, but that's a reason that the designer, can live with.
Yes.
And I think the user-centric, it's a code name for product managers or business advocates saying we are user-centric design product.
Yeah.
Not really. The number of clicks, number of clicks is like,
Yeah.
yes, we think about user, but not really. Are we really thinking
We have analytics.
about? Are we thinking about maybe yourself, or maybe how
Yeah.
how managers are reviewing that?
Yes.
A prototype saying, "Oh, there's so many clicks. Why is that so slow?"
Yes.
No, that's not the reason to change the flow. Just because the demo was a bit slow.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think, you know what, if you bring up a really good point about user-centered design, and we just talked about like the product owners thinking they're the experts. And I'm not saying that you and I are the experts either.
No.
What I'm saying is we need to go to the user. Like we really need to go, let them dictate what's the right experience. Because, and I will tell you, I respect that so much. This is why we do this. Like I'm an advocate for the user. And even as somebody that's done user experience for a very long time, I'm often surprised by what the user wants. And I respect that. I mean, I respect that. I will use my expertise and say, I think this is the right answer to that particular problem, because we know there's a lot of solutions to a lot of problems out there. But what I will then do is test it with the user. And I bring that information back to the organization. And I say, this is what they said, right? Like, if you would like for me to do some more testing, we can do more testing. We're not looking like, let's remember, I'm not looking to do testing for my organization to find the answer they want, okay? Because that's a lot of times when they say they're user-centered, right? They're saying, go get me this answer. Go get me the answer that this is too many clicks. Like they really tell us that a lot of times. Like they don't say it out loud, but that's what they're looking for. Go get the answer that we suspect is the right answer. I will argue with you that I'm fine getting the wrong answer, right? If I uncover that it's too many clicks, great. I don't think that's a one size fits all solution to everything that we design, that we need to minimize the number of clicks, but there could be cases where that is true and we will adapt to that. I don't know that all the time, right? And I'm happy to go find it. And that's my job, is I think to advocate for what they want and not go, I think it should be this, and that's the answer, right? And then like, I'm not looking to go get something to support what I believe either. I'm looking to find out what the user wants to do, whether that's good, bad, makes sense, doesn't make sense or not. I'm just trying to find out how they go about doing things. And I think that awareness is really what we need to be focused on for product design. Like we need to be saying, we've actually talked to the users and this is what they said. It looks crazy, I get it, but that's what they said they do and want. And I think that is so significant, right? Like we're listening to them. And I think that's where they need to show what they're doing.
Not one solution for every product. This, like you said, it's not a slogan that says, oh, user-centric design equals to minimizing the number of clicks. No. It's good for this application. It doesn't good for this application. It doesn't need to be good. It's okay. And also something for the designers, don't afraid to put an extra click if you think it's needed. If you have a reason, don't be afraid of that. Just a good reason, of course. Know how to sell it, know how to think about it.
And I think as designers, that's our responsibility to bring the good and the bad back to the organization. Like, let's do the testing and come back and say, hey, it's not what you thought or what I thought. It's actually something totally different, right? We uncovered this. It's our job to take those feedback that we got from the user and figure out a solution to solve that problem. That's really what's so great and exciting and interesting about it, because there's so many different ways to go about doing that. But finding out that information from them is where we're really focused on you. That's where we listen to them, where we designed for them, where we solve their problems. We really need to respect that. And that's how you get people to come back to your products, is like that's why I use Pinterest all the time. There was a point where I was literally irritated by like the ads. I'm like, it's very obvious this was purchased by Mark Zuckerberg, right? And he added all these ads into Pinterest. And now I'm like getting rid of ads like I want my clean, organized thoughts. I can do it in there. Now I'm clearing ads. I gotta do all this other stuff. And I was saying to myself, I don't like this. And there was a point where I just paused on using it a little bit, and I thought maybe they need to work that out, because that's aggravating to me. It's not. I'm spending my time getting rid of ads instead of like pinning and organizing my thoughts and stuff. And it's toned down a little bit now, so that I can just go and do what I want to do. But it makes me feel like, yes, they did understand that they needed to change that, a little bit. I feel like they respected what they figured out. I know they got to make money from it, so I get it, right? Like, I get the business side of it, and that's a really important part of it too, right? As designers, we're trying to respect what the business needs are and balance those against what the user is. So when we say user-centered, right, we've got to figure out solutions that balance the needs of the business and the user at the same time. That's conflict all the time. That's the negotiation that we experience all the time.
Imagine that cashier, right? Cashier interface that we had that exact debate.
Yes.
Minimize the number of clicks, but then again, make a great experience for the cashier. And again, think about the persona, right? The persona is, we can say a lot of things about that, but can talk about personas in another session. But think about that persona and how we're going to minimize the number of clicks, but then again, do a great experience for. We had to make things like big buttons or things that are making her comfortable when she has good feedback on that interface. So yes, there's a give and take for everything. We took that business need, and it's really had a good reason, and they brought us numbers, right? You said, I don't remember the exact numbers, but each click is equals to number of dollars that we are losing.
Yeah, isn't that interesting?
That's a huge reason. So we have to be really, really creative with that, and find good ways to make a good interface with less clicks. And what about product managers or other stakeholders that saying, well, I don't like this kind of, let's say, popovers. I don't like popovers, so don't do popover. Is that something that you can refer to?
Yes, I think that sometimes, I know in our personal experience, business experience, we have people who are very like anti-pop-up. But pop-ups were invented for a reason, right? And a lot of times they're used because we're trying to convey something that the user needs to do, and we're trying to actually remove their attention from some other things on the screen. So within the process of doing something, we need you to stop for a moment and accept this, right? Or do this, or read this, or acknowledge this, right? Or click this and get that piece of information so that you can finish the task that you're actually trying to do. So there's reasons, really, really good reasons for it, because that's why they were invented. But that doesn't mean they need to just be applied in the right circumstances and for using it. I think we've had cases where there are full processes in a pop-up window, and I'm not sure that always works. I can't say blindly, yes, it does work, or no, it doesn't work. It depends on the circumstances or what the user is doing at the time, because you are using a pop-up. The pop-up is taking their attention from something else that they're doing. So they can dismiss it if you wanted to, or sometimes they have to finish something in the pop-up window and use it. So you have to really be very mindful of why you're using the pop-up for whatever reason it is.
It's true for everything. But in this case, if someone says, I don't like that because, let's say, this app never use pop-ups, that's not a good reason, man. No,
not a good
you're not the user.
That's right. You have to prove, you have to go like, look, that would be the case where I would actually go and disprove that. If I felt strongly against it, it is one of those cases you go to do some testing and you go, let me just uncover whether this works or not. I would try the non-pop-up and the pop-up and put those in front of the user and ask them to define which one works best.
And let me say the truth let me put something on the table. Pop-up on top of a pop-up, it's okay. It's okay. No one will die.
What's a good example? Give me a good example of one. A pop-up on a pop-up. What's a good one?
I don't have something in my mind, but I think we don't realize that we encounter that every day. We don't realize that.
It's probably very minimal. I'm trying to think. to, like, it's probably very minimal that we have it and we're not paying attention to it because it's probably so seamless in the experience.
Yes.
We don't even notice it, and we just do it.
Right. No one cares as long as it, just doing what you need to do.
Yes, I think that's one more important point is, like, in the course of doing whatever task you're actually doing, as long as I don't fail, like, that's one of my barometers for, like, whether it's good design or not. Like, a lot of times we struggle with that negotiating for the good user-centered design and what the business wants. And I say, sometimes I have to call it a halt and say, if it doesn't fail, right? If I think the user can get through this process successfully without, like, I'll say one of the triggers is, I don't want them having to call the company and for some customer support or something like that. Or I don't want them to close out and go, this is too complicated, I'm gonna come back later, I can't get that.
Okay.
Those are reasons why you might have to adjust or, fix the experience. But if you don't, sometimes that's the only barometer for to go out the door. Like, the feature's okay, they're gonna be able to get it done. It's not great. You know what I mean?
Most of the times it's just edge cases of something not working with something that didn't work. It's an edge case. No one will die if you will do a pop-up of the top of a pop-up. It's okay.
Yes.
Don't be afraid of those things. The user will be okay.
Okay. Yes. They'll get it done. And I mean, even can you define edge case for everybody so they understand what that means?
That's a good one. I don't have something in mind. I have, it's something that I don't know.
Yeah, so it's so I think it's important for us to say that we use that terminology to sort of say, this is not the typical flow, maybe. This is not the particular action that the user might do in this process. Like, this might be 10% of the people might actually do this one thing in the flow. And so that's an extra edge case. But we do in design have to really accommodate for those, because what if you get into that situation and you get stuck, and we want to make sure we're user focused. So we've got to provide solutions for them to be able to get through when we get those edge cases.
Right. Yeah. I say, find another solution if you have, but if you don't have another solution, if it will bring you to the edge and you don't have time for it, and I don't know, a lot of reasons, it's okay to have it like that also. It's okay. No one will die. The user will get used to it. And I know we are on a session saying user-centric design, and it's like contradicting. But again, it's like, it's okay. Sometimes it's okay. Users are good with those stuff.
Yeah. And sometimes they learn those behaviors too. Like you said, you pointed out that if you use that, then maybe they'll become accustomed to how that behaves or how that works, which is really significantly important. As long as they don't fail at it, and that's really what we want to make sure they can get done what they need to get done, and they don't fail at it or have a bad experience, or, I'm never doing that again because it's so complicated, it's just too much for me to be bothered with. Those are the things you want to stay away from. But I think as long as they are able to successfully complete their tasks, and that's really where we should be.
Yeah, a lot of the times that what I see in a lot of stakeholders that they are, they're having applications, they know how to use applications, and they say, I want it like that. I want you to design something like that, like I saw on Monday.com, or I saw on Pinterest, or I saw on Conference, or whatever. And I don't know, are they user-centric design? Maybe yes, maybe Monday.com are user-centric, but it's their users.
That's right, not yours. You have to figure that out. I mean, that's what we're basically saying is user testing, however small it is so significant and important. That's the way that you say that you're user-centered focus, is like going to the users, making sure you're capturing their point of view, being able to show the data that you've actually gone to the users and ask them about it. That's so critical and important. That's how you really validate that you focused on the user. You do have to balance those business needs there. But I think that's really it. You cannot adapt your feature from somebody else's and assume that it's user-centered. Who is your user? We'll go into that and do another episode, but you can't just assume it is user-centered because you followed somebody else's design.
Yeah, but sometimes they do say, well, those features, those applications are user-centric. Right, they are user-centric design, right? That's amazing. Good for them.
Yes.
We need to follow them on that approach.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
How did they do that?
Hey, why not be innovative? Why not look at what they've done and figure out how you can improve it, though?
Right, right.
You could start there. Even when you're designing, if you're designing a feature from scratch, you're like, okay, Monday.com has a feature similar to that. Why not go and find out from Monday.com users what works or what doesn't work about their feature and maybe innovate from that and add that to yours. That's a perfect place to start too, just to find out what the feedback is about the feature.
Yes, imagine Jira is like Monday, but Monday is more for SMBs or whatever. Yeah. Imagine Monday would have copy from Jira, or vice versa. Jira would copy from Monday. Oh my God, what would that be?
That would be they're not the same group of people.
A mess. It's like the users, I think Monday is for SMBs, they would lose themselves, right? They would lose customers, right? Those customers will go to, I don't know, maybe there are some more.
Yeah, I think it speaks to a larger strategy, just trying to understand what your strategy is. What are you trying to create for your users? I think that a lot of times in user-centered design, when we're looking at what the strategy is for that, we do need to listen to what they want as a part of the product roadmap, right? Like I think my experience is we've taken that so much for granted. Like we are like, these are the features that the users need. This is our roadmap. This is what we're going to march towards. Like AI is a perfect example. Like how can we integrate AI into our product to offer like to satisfy expectations of the users? But are you really using it meaningfully? Why not go to the users and find out what they expect or what their experience is right now with AI? How are they using it? And then try to innovate on that in a better way and figure out that, and not just plug AI in and go, hey, we're doing the latest, greatest thing because that's what everybody thinks they're doing. So of course we're user-centered focused because everybody's using AI. That's just words, you know what I mean?
Words. This is it. Just words. It doesn't mean anything.
It's not a strategy. It's not a plan, you know?
I can put on my own portfolio website, KarenWolfowitz.ai. What does it mean? That I'm in AI or that I'm doing AI? What does it mean? It doesn't mean anything, but I can bet with you that people would be interested on that.
Yes.
What the hell is she doing with AI? Interesting.
Yeah, because that's what people think nowadays. Yes. AI is not a strategy. It's not.
It's a tool.
Yeah, it's a tool. Yes, it's a tool for you. How do you use it to provide better experiences for your users? How? You know?
Yeah.
And I find that AI is something that is evolving so fast. You have to be on top of that and paying attention, and you got to evolve. It's a really perfect tool to use to be user-centered focused because it's changing so rapidly, and we're watching people use it for certain things. We've got to pay attention to that and how they're using it so we can figure out how to best use it for our products. I think that's so significant and important. Yeah.
That's so strong what you said.
Yeah.
So strong. Yes, it's a tool. Let's use it wisely. Let's just, it reminds me when, I love cinema. I love movies, right? And when in the 20s, when the voice came into the cinema, so what did they do? They just wanted to celebrate voice. So they created the musicals. Let's celebrate. Let's sing. Let's everybody hear us.
Yeah.
No, use it wisely. It's a new tool.
Yeah.
Use it wisely to convey your message.
Yeah. Yes.
Right?
Agreed.
A bunch of other directors did it wisely, but some directors just took it to the, let's celebrate that, right? Let's do a large voice party, which is the musical. I love musicals, right? Don't get me wrong. But that was the thing. It's a new tool. Let's celebrate. Like when we introduced with Photoshop like 20 years ago, there's so many effects. So you just do all those effects, right?
Yes.
No, man, you just need to use that for your message, for your goal.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
We can do a whole episode on AI and like
Yeah.
responsible AI, ethical AI, accessible AI. There's so much to talk about there. It's a lot.
It's just the beginning. Just the beginning.
Amazing. Okay.
All right.
What about, so I think in summary, we were talking about companies saying they're user-centered, design focused, and are they really? And I think there's ways to figure this out. I mean, I think that they really do have to listen to the voice of the customer. They have to be testing, they have to be talking to the users, they have to really be representing their voice and what they're doing. And there are ways to tell, as I gave that example of like Pinterest, how it evolved based upon what I was doing. I could see the changes in it. I can see that they're really paying attention to what I'm doing, accelerating it, or making the experience better. There are ways for you to understand how that works. And I think that the idea that people are, or companies are user-centered design doesn't mean they're perfect either. It means that they're just listening and focusing on users, and it's okay for them to try things out and maybe they don't work, right? Like maybe they don't work. Like maybe that FigJam type board in Confluence and Checkout doesn't take off. Maybe it doesn't work, but it's still a user-centered focused tool because they're paying attention to what's going on in the marketplace. They're providing different experiences for the users based upon what our needs are. So I would argue those things are really good. It's really important to be that way. And it's okay for that to not stick or not to be right. It's okay to try it and test it. I think that's what's good about it.
Right. And a word for designers, don't afraid to speak up. Don't afraid to ask those questions. Don't afraid to question the big words that everyone is saying.
Yes.
Reduce the number of clicks, or
Yes.
the user-centric. What does it mean? Say it. Say it out loud.
Yes.
Sing it like a musical.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. So next time in our next episode, we're going to talk about innovation, or is it just another rebrand? This all the time. It could be like a new design, color palette. We did this for one of the products we're working on. We changed like the banner because we were released, like the navigation, because we're releasing a new product feature. What is the value of doing something like that? Is that innovation, or is that just a rebrand for the launch of a particular feature? Why would you do that? What's the value of something like that?
Right. We can talk hours on that. Oh my God. Yes, I have a lot to say. So yes, that would be amazing.
Awesome.